We got NBA Finals to talk about. Sam Yarnell will be here in 10 minutes. Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com hangs out with us in 20 minutes. There is NFL news and notes to get to. We will go around the bases in baseball, take a trip around the top stories around the league. We'll also tell you what's going on out at the French Open. A lot to do over the course of 60 minutes. But we start things out as we always do on this Thursday edition of the show. It's time for the big story. And the big story today, obviously, will be in the NBA. But before we talk about Game 1 of the NBA Finals, I got to tell you about our newsletter over on Substack. If you have not subscribed yet, go and subscribe to the Substack newsletter. We call it the Daily Wrap. It is available Monday through Friday, unless I forget to put it up like I did yesterday and forget to hit the button that publishes it. And then in that case, it is my fault. You could send me hate mail if you wish. The Daily Wrap on Substack from SportsWrap with Jason Page. Scan the QR code below, and you can just go and get access to it. It's free to subscribe. We're going to have columns that I'm writing that are going to be available on there as well. So go and check those out too. The Daily Wrap, courtesy of SportsWrap with Jason Page. All right. Game number 1 of the NBA Finals goes to the New York Knicks, 105-95. Another double-digit win for this basketball team that has now won 12 games in a row in the playoffs, dating back to late April. Take this in, because you may not see anything like it again, what the Knicks are accomplishing right now. And a lot of people questioned whether or not this was a team that was a product of a weak postseason layout in the East with the Hawks, the Sixers, Cavaliers. I don't know how you could say that about the Cavaliers, them sweeping the Cavaliers. As much as you want to talk about James Harden and what Harden is or isn't at this stage of his career, that was still a good basketball team, and they swept them, and in most games, annihilating fashion. So to me, the weak East argument was kind of weak unto itself. It was lazy. It was refusing to acknowledge what this Knicks team had accomplished here in the postseason after falling behind 2-1 to the Atlanta Hawks and making changes on the fly, and what Mike Brown has done. And Mike Brown deserves credit for what he's done in that regard. But I want to talk about something a little different here today in the big story. And I want you to soak this in a little bit, because I've said this before. If you're not from New York or the tri-state area that surrounds New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, you don't understand why Knicks fans are so excited about this postseason run and any postseason run the Knicks go on. You don't understand why there's such celebrations outside Madison Square Garden or, different venues where the Knicks are having watch parties. You don't understand it because you haven't had that shared lived experience of how bad the Knicks have been through various points of the last 53 years, combined with the heartaches of potential championship runs that have gone in the wrong direction. You haven't lived with 53 years. And that's why I want to turn this to Jalen Brunson. Because what Jalen Brunson's doing right now, there's all this conversation about, could he be the best undersized guard? Is he on the Mount Rushmore of undersized guards? If he wins a championship, is he the best in the history of the game undersized guard? He's barely 6 feet to lead a team to a championship. How do you survey that? How do you process that? But I want to give it a little bit of a different context, because you see what's happening on the floor. And you watch what happens late in this game where he takes over. And he didn't shoot it particularly well. He bangs up his ankle early in the game. He's playing hurt. Feels like he's always playing hurt in some way, shape, or form. Again, because he is so undersized. But I want to take this from a different perspective. Because it's not just having to carry the expectations of a fan base, or carry the expectations of his teammates, or management, or ownership, with the big contract that he has, and knowing that he is the shot maker, the playmaker, Mr. Clutch on this team. I want to take it from a different perspective. It's not just those things that are on Jalen Brunson's back. It's 53 years of failure. It's Frank Sinatra saying, if I can make it there, I'll make it anywhere. That's New York. It's the market where so many stars have gone and crumbled and failed and come up short for various reasons. It's the place where Pat Riley, one of the greatest head coaches of all time, couldn't get it across the finish line and bolted for Miami. It's 1994 with John Starks, who couldn't hit water from a boat in Game 7. It's 1999, where an unexpected run to the finals gets short-circuited by Patrick Ewing getting hurt right before those finals begin. It's 20 years of misery from the early 2000s to the early 2020s where this team couldn't get out of its own way. This franchise couldn't get out of its own way. It's Phil Jackson's management tenure. Remember that? It's Isaiah Thomas's management and coaching. It's all of it. And now you take all of this and you strap it up and you carry it with you. If you're Jalen Brunson, you're not just carrying the expectations and hopes of your teammates or a fan base. You're carrying all that history with you as you try to take this team on a championship run where you're still underdogs going into the series. Not anymore, by the way, and we'll get into that. You're carrying all of that with you as you try to make this run to an NBA title. And you're making shot after shot, carrying all that with you. He will be not just one of the Mount Rushmores of the Knicks if he pulls this off. He will be on the Mount Rushmore of New York sports history if he is to pull this off and be the face of a Knicks championship run. There's no two ways about it. I dare you to challenge me. We got more on the finals next. Welcome back to the show. I've had my say in the big story. All about the NBA Finals. With that, let's hear what a couple of other people have to say. Coming up in 10 minutes, Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Weigh in with his thoughts on Game 1 between the Knicks and Spurs. But first, it's Sam Yarnell, who hangs out with us on the show. I think I said it all. And good night, everybody. I feel like I said it all in the big story, which is the Cliff's Notes version. If somebody tuned in 10 minutes late to starting the show and didn't feel like going back and watching it, it is really remarkable when you sit and sort of sit with it for a moment to think about the gravity of what sits on Jalen Brunson's shoulders as the playmaker, the shot maker, the guy that's relied upon to do so much for this team. But then when you take everything else into consideration, Frank Sinatra, as I quoted in the open today, you can make it there, you make it anywhere. The heft of 53 years, the heft of John Starks' Game 7, the heft of 99 losing to the Spurs, the heft of Phil Jackson's failed tenure, the heft of Isaiah Thomas, and I could go on and on and on. James Dolan, everything. For him to come out and do what he continues to do on a night-in, night-out basis, leading this team to 12 straight wins in the playoffs, this is a run unlike any other, Sam.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Game 1 was very interesting last night, right? Game 1 was, it was quite the basketball game. It really was.
It was gutty. It was grimy. It was, had a little bit of everything.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll call it what it is. The moment was too big for the Spurs, right? Everything that so many people, not just us, and we didn't talk about this very much, but so many people leading into this series, oh, the youth of the Spurs, oh, they haven't been here before, oh, you have to lose before you win. Well, yeah, they might have been right about a little bit of that, looking at game one. The first 3 minutes of this game was hilarious, or maybe you could even call it the first 8 minutes. The Knicks came out and punched the Spurs in the face and then were gasping for air. It was like the Knicks used all their energy in the first 8 minutes, and then they were like
punched themselves out, almost like it's almost like a boxer that comes out and punches himself out. It was Clubber Lang in Rocky 3.
It was crazy. I thought they were toast once the Spurs finally woke up and turned it around, because the moment felt way too big for the Spurs early on in that game. Early on in that game, it was like, well, the Knicks, they've done what people were saying, right? They've been there. Well, they haven't been to the finals, but they've been to these big stages and lost. There are guys on that roster who have lost in the big game before. They weren't going to let that happen early on in that game. And the Spurs showed you, right? We haven't been anywhere near a stage this big, and we're all really young, and we may not know what we're doing. That's what it looked like early in this game, and then the Spurs looked like a powerhouse for the middle third of this game. It was absolutely wild. They're up 12 or whatever, go late in the third quarter going into the fourth, and all right, it's wraps. That felt like it. But then, my gosh, they completely forgot how to play basketball together, Jason. The San Antonio Spurs in the last 8 minutes of this game made maybe a total of 4 cohesive basketball plays. It was absolutely wild to watch this team with a lead look like a deer learning how to walk. It was absolutely crazy what happened to Mitch Johnson's San Antonio Spurs in the last 8 minutes of this game. I can't believe it. And I tell you what, if that's how they're going to act throughout the entirety of this finals, they don't have a chance. I don't think that they're going to shoot less than, 35% as a team. I don't think that's going to happen for the rest of the finals.
Yeah, they shot 36% from the field in this game. The Knicks didn't do much better at 41%. And other than Brunson, who was 12 of 31 shooting.
Yeah, inefficient city over there. That is not great.
But, Cat gave you 18 and 12 and 4 assists. He was a plus 14. Josh Hart, who everybody worried about, 15 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, filling up the stat sheet in various ways. Off the bench, Landry Shamet. Everybody wondered what would happen with him in the layoff. Would he turn back into Landry Shamet? And he didn't. He played really well. And now, by the way, if you're wondering, Knicks minus 134 to win the series. The Spurs plus 114. It only took one game for the books to wake up to what I was saying before the series started, which was, you got the number wrong. Knicks win 105. 95. Alvarado gave them minutes off the bench in this game. And again, it was the layoff versus a team coming off, just a few days ago, the high of beating the Oklahoma City Thunder. You wonder, is that part of, was that their NBA Finals? Was that their NBA Finals?
No. It's why they fell apart in the last 8 minutes of that game. It's why the Knicks won this game. We'll call a spade a spade. It's why you look at the last 8 minutes of this. They can't even get up and down the floor. This team is absolutely drained. They've played 8 basketball games in the last 14 days or something like that. It's absolutely crazy what this Spurs team has gone through, and it showed towards the end of that game. I'll say it though, you mentioned that the 2 X factors for the Knicks, the 2 guys who last night were absolutely incredible, have to be absolutely incredible the duration of the series if the Knicks really want to win this thing. It's Cat and it's Josh Hart. Cat blows by Victor Wembanyama when he's out guarding him at the 3-point line last night, and that was kind of the sign, right? That is how Cat is going to be able to score against this Spurs team, because he's got that outside shot that Wemby has to step out and defend, and Cat has the speed and the size, quite frankly, to still be able to get around Wemby and get to the rack. When you talk about Josh Hart, this is the guy who Wemby is going to be guarding for the majority of these games. Wemby is going to be on Josh Hart because they are like, listen, let Josh Hart shoot it. If he gets hot, he gets hot, and we'll figure it out. If Josh Hart can get hot, that could be the dagger into the Spurs. But again, Jason, I'm not worried about the Spurs. It is not panic button yet. If anything, I'm happy because it looks like we got a great series on our hands. I don't think either of these teams are going to shoot under 40% again in another game.
I'm going to tell you something. I actually thought, and I said this to Kurt from the start, I thought these games were going to be played in this sort of zip code of 105. I thought these were going to be low-scoring games. I think you're going to get more of this just sort of grinded out late 90s, sort of basketball. It's physical, it's tough. I think you're going to get a lot of this. I don't think you're going to see, crazy high shooting numbers in this series. Remains to be seen. Again, game one, I don't necessarily think it portends what's to happen in the rest of this series, but we'll see what Kurt Helin has to say from San Antonio. He joins us next. Welcome back to the show. I am in all my glory today. I'm not going to lie. Knicks take game one of the NBA Finals over the Spurs, 105-95. In the muck and mire, the grind of game one. Neither team shot it well. The Knicks made the plays when it mattered late, and Jalen Brunson was a big part of the reason why they come away with this victory. Let's bring in our friend Kurt Helin of Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. He did a great job covering the game last night, writing about it as well. So make sure to go and check out his work at Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. So your big takeaway from game one of the NBA Finals is?
Well, look, it does have to start with Brunson, right? Like, this is the kind of game that moves you from Knicks legend to like that mythological status that he's kind of approaching now, where like he had to limp off the court in the first quarter, right? Like he was, and then Luke Cornett steps on his ankle later, and he's hobbled, and he still comes up with 13 points and all these clutch plays at the end. So I mean, you have to start there for me. But I also think this game really showed how the Knicks are, I don't want to say built because I don't think this was the intention when building, but they are the perfect construction to give these current Spurs real problems. They were really good they scored 50 points in the paint, like on Wemby, which just doesn't happen. But they were like, Josh Hart talked about it after the game. He's like, hey, you put up the shot, you pull him out. And when he was pulled out, Mitchell Robinson a little bit, mostly Karl Anthony Towns and Josh Hart would come in and scoop in and get offensive rebounds or keep plays going. They did a good job of keeping him on the move and using their size to really wear him down. And I mean, Wemby had 6 turnovers and some ill-advised shots at the end. They did a great job on him.
Yeah, Mitchell Robinson did exactly what I said he needs to do. Just make him uncomfortable, move him around, body him. Just make it difficult so that by the time you get to the end of the game, you kind of had the Wemby that you had, which was a Wemby that was pressing. And this was something you talked about when we were texting last night in your article, the fact that this was not Wemby's finest moment late in this game.
No, it's funny because I'm writing a story about that for today at NBC Sports, and it was, hey, if you look at the raw stats, he's like, he had 26 and 12 and 3 blocks, and the only other guys to do that in their debut are like Shaq and Hakeem, and like, but if you watch the game, you realize that he had 6 turnovers, and he kept trying to put the ball on the floor. It felt like he was trying to do too much a lot of this game. He wanted to take it over when he had to. Julian Champagnie couldn't miss, but then the Knicks did a great job of kind of limiting him and limiting Dylan Harper, who was fantastic in the first half. And more than anything, Dylan Harper and Wemby, they're the things that scare you about this team long term. Like, dude, they're young and they're still figuring it out, and someday they will. And then what do you do? But right now, you can get to them, and the Knicks did a really good job of that in the first half.
And that's the question: is this just game one jitters? Is it them coming off 7 games and the Knicks with the rust, and the Knicks just in this sort of game of attrition had the answers late? That's that. When I ask about the big takeaway, what does game one portend for the rest of this series, if anything? In your mind, or does it stand alone and now the Spurs sort of make their adjustments and we see where they come out in game 2?
One of my playoff mottos is never overreact to game one, because it genuinely is the
unless
first
it's game one of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Cavaliers.
Well, but that did set a tone, you're right. And I think that this one in some ways sets a tone. Like, again, they showed how they want to play and how the Knicks, how they can be effective. But what really matters in a great series is I think games 2 and 3 tend to be more telling when you get the adjustments. You're going to get what should be an incredibly desperate Spurs team in game 2, right? Like they know that they can't go down 0-2 and go back to Madison Square Garden where Donald Trump will be rooting for the Knicks and in the building. And I'm looking forward to that moment, by the way. Put him on the Jumbotron for a minute. They, but that, how do they adjust? And I think you learn a lot more about these Spurs and where this series goes in game 2. But I think you got the vibe that the Knicks can absolutely win the series and know how they need to do it. And Jason, they've been executing this game plan for what, 2 seasons now? It's mostly largely.
It's remarkable to just watch, a team that hasn't lost since late April, winning 12 straight games. And a lot of people were questioning the competition they were facing in the East coming until now. I think a lot of that goes by the wayside. The odds makers for the series basically have told you so, because now the Knicks are a favorite to win the series at -134 versus the Spurs at +114. By the way, I told all of you that the line was a missed line before the series started, so I am going to take a victory lap on that front, because you could have gotten the number at, Knicks +185 before the series started. So give me a sense. What does Mitch Johnson do in game 2 here, Kurt? In your mind, if you're Mitch Johnson, what's the big adjustment you're making going into that game?
You've got to find a way to get Wemby rolling, and they had to do this against the Thunder, and I think you'll see some adjustment. You've got to get Wemby the ball rolling towards the rim, not as a playmaker. He wanted to bring it up. They wanted him to do. You could see him wanting to take charge in this game. Dude, you got to let De'Aaron Fox be more of the floor general. De'Aaron Fox is as level-headed as they get, and this is why you brought him in. You need Castle and Harper getting downhill. You need to get that momentum going and then kicking out the Champagnes and stuff. So I think you will see a more interesting offensive effort. But frankly, it's going to be, if it continues to be a stuck in the mud kind of series, that just favors the Knicks. Yeah. Like, that is how they like to play. This is their kind of series, and these are these are 2 top 10 defensive teams, number 3 and 7 teams during the regular season who've been better in the regular season, and they create their own problems. Wemby still creates his own problems. The Knicks were 2 of 16 when he was the primary close defender last night. He's still a real problem. They just figured out how to exploit behind him, and it makes you think that the Spurs need to adjust to that. And I also came out of that game thinking, by the way, your next step for the Spurs, you could really use an Aaron Gordon type. Like, you could use that 4, like that kind of 4. And so could a lot of teams, but I'm saying, like, next to Wemby, couldn't you really use that kind of guy?
Yeah, it's a very good point. Kurt Helin, Pro Basketball Talk at NBCSports.com. Check out his work throughout the finals. Game 2 on Friday night, and then they have a break till Monday, where you'll have Game 3 at Madison Square Garden, which will be a madhouse for sure. Kurt Helin, always appreciate you, my friend. Be well.
Take care, my man.
Sam Yarnell returns in just a couple of minutes. We'll get into some NFL news and notes, including one about Micah Parsons that isn't good news if you're a Packers fan. That's next. Welcome back to the show. Talk some baseball coming up in 10 minutes. Thanks to Kurt Helin for hanging out with us throughout the NBA Finals on the off days. Knicks in 6, I told you. I'm going to tell you. Sam Yarnell, some NFL news and notes. And a late edition as well. First of all, Brandon Aiyuk. What is it with guys just driving fast? Can we just get we just need to take all NFL play. I know this is painting with a broad brush. We need to take all NFL players and just put them in Ubers. That's it. You all get Ubers. None of you get to drive. Brandon Aiyuk, the latest example. Warrant issued, arrest. I mean, look, I don't know what the league's going to do about this and what it ultimately means, but if you're the Niners, you certainly can't enjoy seeing Brandon Aiyuk putting himself in this sort of position, Sam.
It's a disaster. I mean, that whole situation I don't even think he's is he even on the Niners technically anymore? I think they cut him already.
Nah, he might have
I think he was a pre-June
1st
cut. I don't know. I know there are a bunch of people in Washington who wanted him on the Commanders who think this was a horrible, horrible, horrible look. Not only the thing is the thing that adds insult to injury here is that not only do you have the video that he posts himself of him driving by the Levi Stadium at 100 miles an hour, which is absolutely crazy. There's a video yesterday that surfaces once the warrant is issued of him racing a race car on a track. Like, what are we doing here?
He's playing the wrong sport. He needs to go join NASCAR. It's a Cadillac CT5V, Blackwing. Was the video he shared of him just outside of the Niners' home field. Yeah.
See, that's the thing, Jason. I don't think he needs to, in the day and age in which we live, right, in 2026, I don't think he needs to go try and play a different sport. It's pretty simple. We're seeing it all over the place. These professional athletes who go back to college. I mean, you want to drive recklessly. Brandon Aiyuk, I think Georgia needs a wide receiver next season, my friend. Try and get that eligibility reinstated.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see who takes a shot on him here. He is a free agent, as you mentioned. So he was on the like non-reserve or non-injury reserve list late last year with the Niners, which I should have remembered.
Yeah.
Darnell Washington signing with the Steelers, extension for him. As they sort of try to put this team and piece this puzzle together around Aaron Rodgers for 2026, Sam. What's he getting? 4 years, $40 million, something like that. I mean, the money that's being handed out around the league right now makes me wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller.
Yeah, it's an interesting day when the Pittsburgh Steelers are telling everyone and acting like, or not telling everyone, making everyone believe that they're going to contend and yada, yada. And then you give $40 million to a backup tight end. What's going on, Pittsburgh? That coming like 2 days after they gave, $100 million to Nick Herbig, guaranteed. I think it's like a $125 million contract with $100 million guaranteed or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's the try to keep TJ Watt around party. Like, are these TJ Watt's friends and they're trying to pay him a bunch of money so that TJ doesn't leave, which he inevitably will. I mean, if this, weird Steelers contract, weird couple of Steelers contract. Once again, we go another making a lick of sense, Jason.
A bit of a warning sign, a red siren, a red flag on Micah Parsons as he continues to recover from ACL surgery. A quote obtained by Zach Jacobson's Parsons speaking about his hard time, coming back from this torn ACL. It constantly replays in my brain. I'm constantly thinking, how can I not? You don't even know how much time I spend on ChatGPT about my injury. I just can't accept where I'm at. I'm like, man, how do I keep progressing and progressing? And now it sounds like he's not going to be ready for the start of the season, Sam. And it sounds like they're taking the approach that there's no point in really rushing him back. And we apologize. We're having some technical issues with Sam's feed. So we'll try and see if we can get that squared away here before the end of the segment. But to go back to Micah Parsons here for a second, ultimately, he's talking about 4 more months in order to recover from the ACL injury. And the reason for that is now he's talking about the fact that there was a meniscus tear in there as well, which hadn't really been previously reported. So that puts you into October now for Micah Parsons. And again, all these dynamics start to change as the NFL continues to lengthen seasons. It's obviously not catastrophic that he's not going to be back until October. But then when you start to splice that up, along with the division they're in, anybody remember the run the Bears went on last year? Expectations are going to be high for Caleb Williams and that team. The Detroit Lions aren't going away just because they missed the playoffs last year. If anything, that's going to embolden that franchise to be better in 2026. Jared Goff, Ahmad-Ra St. Brown, Dan Campbell and company. So, missing Micah Parsons in a league where the playoffs come down to tiebreakers, where it could come down to a loss within the division, you're going to miss Micah Parsons for probably 4 or 5 weeks at the very least if you're pushing back into October. And if anything with somebody like him, you're going to be more careful than you would, just your run-of-the-mill player in the NFL. So a lot of concerns as it relates to the Packers when it comes to Micah Parsons. All right, we couldn't get Sam's feedback on, so we won't get to hear what he thinks about that. But we will get into some baseball in just a couple of minutes, get some thoughts on a few of the big stories around the league. Christopher Sanchez's run at history comes to an end, just shy of 51 innings. We'll get to that. Aaron Judge's injury issues for the Yankees as well. All of that as we continue on this Thursday edition of SportsWrap. Welcome back to the show. Odds and Ends wraps it up in 10 minutes. Let you know what's going on out at the French Open. And a whole bunch more. Going and getting that crazy selfie out in the middle of an NBA Finals game, not the best idea. We'll explain that too. On this Thursday, SportsWrap is running the bases with the top MLB headlines. Christopher Sanchez, one of the most underreported stories in all of sports over the last 5 weeks, has been how good Christopher Sanchez, how special Christopher Sanchez has been for the Philadelphia Phillies. His run at history ends at 50 2/3 innings last night. Phillies get the win. They beat the A's 3-2, but in the case of Sanchez, he comes up short of a record, trying to break the historic record of Orel Hershiser, who has the longest streak in MLB history, 59 straight scoreless innings for Hershiser. It was one of my earliest sports memories that I remember as a kid back in 1988. Hershiser doing that. And take this in, because what Sanchez did at 50 2/3 innings, this is one of the great runs of all time that you'll see. Sorry, I said against the A's. It was against San Diego last night. And here it is, him giving up his first run in well over a month. He tried, man. He certainly kept the streak going as long as he could. But San Diego scores a run. They don't get the win, though. Phillies win at 3-2 as they're playing much better baseball since Don Mattingly took over. And the fans gave him every bit of a round of applause as he deserves. But what I was saying is, what Christopher Sanchez, we may not see anybody get that close again, because we haven't seen anybody get to 51 innings, which he finishes one out shy of, going all the way back to what Hershiser did with the 59 straight scoreless innings. In this era of baseball, where runs are the thing, where offense is in vogue, with bigger base paths, with being able to steal bases, the number of throwovers you get, all the things that are being done to placate offense in baseball, you're not going to see anything like this. So he didn't break the record of Orel Hershiser, but it was still historic in that many people, this era of baseball, you're not going to see it again. So congratulations to Christopher Sanchez on a big night, a very special night. Something you probably did not expect, and this is why baseball is the greatest game in the world, because in 162 games, you can have one game where the very best in the game is human, where you can beat them. It happened on opening day to Paul Skenes when he played against the Mets, and the Mets were able to get some runs off him on a day where O'Neal Cruz was just absolutely abysmal in the outfield. But you go and look, and last night on paper, Pirates versus the lowly Astros, you probably weren't expecting a Astros win, and you probably weren't expecting Paul Skenes to get roughed up and pulled from this game early. Well, that's what happened. Paul Skenes last night, 4 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 3 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, which, by the way, for a lot of guys is not a terrible day at the office. But when it's Paul Skenes, you kind of go, huh. You're not expecting that. His ERA now at 3.09. He didn't even take the loss in the game. But the Astros did beat the Pirates, the 33-29 Pittsburgh Pirates, by a final score of 11-9, as Yordan Alvarez continues to have a great season. He could very well be your MVP in the American League if he stays healthy. He's hitting .316. He was 4 for 5 last night with a couple of RBIs. But Skenes, trying to win another Cy Young Award in the National League. And right now, he is way behind the 8 ball if you're talking about potential Cy Young Award winners in that National League. Matter of fact, if you go and look at the odds right now in the National League for Cy Young Award, you got to go all the way down to 4th best odds. Christopher Sanchez is plus 125 to win the Cy Young Award. Jacob Mizorowski is plus 200. Shohei Ohtani is plus 550. Then Paul Skenes and Chris Sale are together at plus 950. Your odds to win the National League Cy Young Award. By the way, Cam Schlittler's still your favorite in the American League. He's plus 210 to win the award. Speaking of the Yankees, you like how I did that? I'm a professional. Aaron Judge could be on the shelf for a while for the Yankees as they continue to try and figure out what to do with Judge, who has this bone bruise in his shoulder. Can I just end all this right now? If I'm the Yankees, sit his ass down. Let him rest. See what the Braves are doing with Ronald Acuna Jr., who they didn't have to put on the shelf for as long as they have. But you know what? They know where their place is. Whether the Yankees are a wild card team or the division winner, they're going to be in the playoffs in the American League. If you're the Yankees, why are you even screwing around with Aaron Judge? Who is your moneymaker? Who is the straw that stirs the drink, as Reggie Jackson used to say? Just let him rest. Because that's the only thing that's going to ultimately make it better. You know the guy has a history of injury issues. Why would you even, if you're Aaron Boone, if you're Brian Cashman, the brain trust of the New York Yankees, get in a room and say, Aaron, we're resting you. Fine, you're not going to win MVP this year because you're going to take a month off. And you're going to come back and be stronger, and you're going to be there when you need us. By the way, his batting average ain't great anyway right now. He's not putting up prolific numbers, so he's probably not the favorite to win the MVP in the American League anyway. Well, he actually still is. It's plus 180. Yordan is plus 210. Bobby Witt plus 260. Ben Rice plus 750. Just about time to put this baby to rest. This Thursday edition of Sports Wrap. But before we do, a couple of reminders. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page podcast. All things Sports Wrap with Jason Page. Monday through Friday. Wherever you get your podcasts, the audio version of this show, crystal clear, waiting for you. 45 minutes, limited interruptions. Go and subscribe to our podcast. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Odyssey, Amazon. Anywhere you get a podcast, you can listen to this show. The Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel is the place to find all things Sports Wrap with Jason Page. The Monday through Friday TV version of the show is waiting there for you. 45 minutes, commercial-free, like a warm friend giving you a big hug. Go and check it out today. Sports Wrap Originals are there, extended conversations. We had a conversation with Kurt Helin. If you're watching on TV, guess what? There was more to that conversation. Where do you get that? The YouTube channel. Go and subscribe to our YouTube channel today just for that. Every day we have extended conversations on the show that we can't fit into the TV show because people like to talk, including myself. So go and subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel and get those. Sports Wrap shorts are also there. 1 to 3 minute long videos highlighting the top stories in sports, the top news in sports. Something breaks, we jump in there because we can't be here on your television 24 hours a day. And even if you're watching us on the YouTube channel, sometimes news breaks. We do shorts to cover those. So make sure to go and subscribe to the Sports Wrap with Jason Page YouTube channel today. And without any further delay on this Thursday edition of the show, one thing left to do. It's time for some odds and ends. Odds and ends. The end for a young man who found himself getting thrown out of an NBA game on Thursday night. Some guy ran onto the floor to take a selfie with Victor Wembanyama, and now has been banned for life by the NBA. He will never be allowed in an NBA arena again unless he wears like that funny costume that Bobby Valentine wore when he was manager of the Mets. Maybe he goes and disguises himself as Groucho Marx and he can get into a game. I'm sure he'll probably try. I hope the selfie was worth it. This is the era we live in. Colin Coward, who I used to be friends with, used to have a saying. What are cameras called? Idiot magnets. And what are cell phones with guys attached to it? Look at this guy. Just thinks, I'll run out onto the floor. Take a picture with Wemby. Mitchell Robinson's just standing there. Security came out and did its best. But it just goes to show you how easy it is to run out onto the floor. By the way, if you do that for Game 3 at Madison Square Garden on Monday night, there's a good chance Secret Service might take you out. Donald Trump, President of the United States, will reportedly be at that game. And something tells me security gonna be a little heightened for Knicks Spurs Game 3 at Madison Square Garden. So if you were thinking about doing that at the Garden on Monday night, you might want to think twice. Odds and ends, Maria Andreeva finds her way to the women's final at the French Open at Roland Garros. Who she meets, I can't tell you, because while we're putting the show together today, Maya Walinska is on the court. The unranked qualifier, Maya Walinska, is on the court. She's going up against Schneider, who took out, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember if she was the one that took out Aryna Sabalenka or not. I think she did. Walinska won the first set of this match. We'll let you know what happens tomorrow on the show. Either way, on the men's and women's side, you're going to see a first-time Grand Slam event winner because all the major champions are gone after Aryna Sabalenka fell yesterday. Who will not be playing for the men's title this weekend? Unfortunately, Marco Berrettini. He will not be playing in the men's final. He had to pull out yesterday, and you just had to feel for him. Going up against one of his fellow Italian countrymen. And unfortunately, Marco Berrettini had a hip injury, had to withdraw in the middle of his match late in the second set after dropping the first set. And Marco Berrettini, if you don't know the story, Marco Berrettini is a guy that has suffered numerous injuries over the course of his career. And at 30 years old, you just have to wonder if this might have been his latest and greatest chance to win a major or win a Grand Slam event, because he really is a talented player. He'll get some good ranking points for getting into the quarterfinals, but unfortunately, you feel like it's never going to happen for Marco Berrettini. So all the best to him for sure. And that's the story of what's been going on at Roland Garros. It has been a tournament of upsets, surprises, and as I said, when we get to the show on Monday, we're going to be telling you about two first-time winners of the men's and women's side at the Australian Open. Will it be Sasha Zverev on the men's side? That remains to be seen. He is certainly the favorite right now to win the entire thing. I don't have the odds on me. See if I can pull them up here in the last 20 seconds that we are available here on the air. Zverev is minus 195. Flavio Caboli is plus 310. Jakub Menchik is plus 650. And the guy that beat Berrettini yesterday, Matteo Arnaldi, is plus 1100. And that's going to do it for us on this Thursday edition of the show. Tomorrow, Tino Patino will be here. Our friend covering NASCAR will preview this weekend's race. I am Jason Page. Thanks to Sam Yarnell. Thanks to Kurt Helin. Thanks to all of you at home for watching. We'll see you back here on Friday for an all-new edition of Sports Wrap. Bye-bye.